making noises.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Now we're on. Awesome. Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks, live from BSides, New Orleans, Louisiana. Today I have with me Mike Woods, the staff CISO at GE, a subsection of GE. We'll get to that later. We're going to let Mike tell you all about it. With me, as always, I believe above me. Is he above us, Meg?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So if you guys haven't heard me in the last couple episodes talking about Meg Jet, the wonderful sidekick, she is full on producing today, 100%. So we can't see Will. We can't see you. And apparently there's a whole group of really cool people in track one room at BSides watching this right now from a browser window. So for those that are watching from the browser window, if you guys want to look in the YouTube channel or the LinkedIn channel, go to those places and you can put your questions in the chat there. On LinkedIn, it's going to be at SecureNation, all one word. Go to the events section. We're live from there. As well as on the YouTube channel, it is the Human API. Find it. We're streaming live from there as well. So, without further ado, let me introduce myself. I'm Rachel Arnold, the Human API with SecureNation. Will McCullen is the program manager at the IT Center for Excellence at Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona.
Well done. Well done.
We're good? Oh, okay. Make me nervous, ma'am. And Mike Woods. So hopefully everybody in track one is settled down. Hopefully everybody on LinkedIn is joined. Do we have anybody saying hello yet?
No, I mean, we got lovely.
Yeah, we've got somebody. There, Obsidian Arrow.
Yeah, that's the husband.
We might be having some trouble with LinkedIn, though.
Oh, we think? All right. Well, while Meg works on that, we're going to go ahead and introduce Mike Woods. Mike, thank you so much.
No problem. Glad to be here.
I know you, I've said it 1,000 times before on this show, by the way. This is what putting stuff into production before you test it looks exactly like.
No, this is what we live all the time in IT, right? So.
Definitely. So how long have you been in this industry?
20 years as of January.
You don't even look old enough for that.
I know.
You're doing great.
I get that, actually, so knock on wood.
Yeah. That's not. I don't know if that's wood or if that's for Mike.
Probably. It looks like solid wood.
It does. Maybe. I don't know. Me and Meg lifted it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, but it's wood with a mic on it.
Yeah. So I actually started out with Northrop Grumman. That was my first job out of college. Just a funny story about how I got that job. So I'm in college. I'm doing an internship at a local company here, and I think it was sophomore or junior year in college, and I just started having conversations, going to events. It took me a while to figure out that I wanted to do cybersecurity, to be honest. Probably not until my senior year. I knew I wanted to do something in IT, though, and that grew out of trying different things, right? I tried electrical engineering for a while. I tried marine biology.
Really? This is a spread, man.
Yeah, I was all over the map, and then I figured out this newer thing called information systems, and this is circa 2002, and I decided, I want to do IT. I like this stuff. I like, the classes. We did a network engineering class. We did a systems analysis class. I'm like, I like this stuff.
Yeah.
And went to some career fairs when they had IT or technology-related career fairs, and met a guy from Northrop Grumman. I thought he was just like a recruiter, right? Didn't know who he was. Ed Young was his name. And so Ed and I just kept in touch because we kind of hit it off. I think we had some background where we both kind of grew up on a farm. And so we hit it off, right?
Nice.
And so kept up with him. Hadn't seen him in like a year, but he emails me out the blue, says, "Hey, we got the contract. I want you to go to this hotel on this date. There's a big conference where, just show up there and we'll take care of you." It's like, great, I'll show up. I get there, and I didn't realize this is for like $1 billion contract that they signed, and there's like 400 people in this room, and there's like this huge set of tables, and there's lines everywhere. I'm like a 20-something-year-old kid. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
I find my line. I get in it. I immediately they're like, "Oh no, we're not doing entry level right now." Blah, 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 blah. They kind of turned me around, and luckily I said, "Hey, I don't want to be pushy here, but Ed told me to come here, he said I needed to meet Patricia." She's like, "I'm Patricia." Like,
Perfect.
Like, oh, Ed. Come this way.
Yeah.
Didn't even interview. Just filled out an app, and that was it. So that was how I got my first job.
Nice.
In IT. So that was with Northrop Grumman. It was a big local project here in New Orleans, actually, for the DoD. It was a big payroll and enterprise HR program. It was a joint program across all the military services, right?
Oh,
so it's called Dimers. A lot of local folks would be very familiar with that project. We had a lot of folks coming in and out. I think we had 300 to 400 people in New Orleans working on this project at the start. And did a lot of, this is circa 2004 now, did a lot of racking and stacking, like just going to data centers. This is before cloud, right?
Yeah.
We had to build out our own data centers in Utah, in Pennsylvania, here in New Orleans, in Virginia. So did a lot of that, and kind of grew that into understanding a lot of IT from a data center perspective. Got systems administration. Networking is really what started me in cyber, I would say, because over time there I became a network lead, like a network engineering manager for the entire project. And for the Department of Defense government projects, you have to do all of these security controls, right? Even back then. And that's kind of was the start, right? Folks might, if you're in DoD, you might be familiar with the Orange Book and all these different controls, but that's kind of was the start of the NIST controls, actually, in terms of implementation. And so we did a ton of work with different government systems to make sure that we could maintain our authority to operate. So there's a lot of STIGs, they call them, security technical implementation guides. So we did all of that. It probably became half of my job, to be honest about it, as a network manager. So it really taught me a lot, the nuts and bolts of how security worked. But that's how I started off, and took that, went to Lockheed for a year, did a lot of, I would say, assessment work, more auditing, really getting deep into the cyber world, and then that into a role at GE as a director for cybersecurity operations. Became a senior director. Then I was the corporate CISO for 2 years. The corporate CISO was more of HR, payroll, a lot of shared services, networks.
Gotcha.
And then more recently, and I did a dual hat for a while, but more recently, as of the end of last year, became the staff, chief of staff, CISO for GE Vernova. So GE has split off into 3 independent companies. There's no longer one GE. There's 3: healthcare, aerospace, and the energy business, the power business, wind, electrification. That all became Vernova.
Gotcha.
And just in April. So
Nice.
we just kicked off.
Very cool.
Big event. We got to ring the bell on Wall Street. The company did.
Nice.
I wasn't there.
Oh, man.
My CIO was there, though. My CTO was there.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Very cool. So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen since splitting apart?
Oh, geez. So it's a lot of getting folks used to the new world, because as a conglomerate, when you can talk to someone about a problem, get a fix, it was just over a chat meeting, right? Now there's much more formality. You have to go through, we have transition services agreements, so TSAs, you have to go through a TSA process.
Right.
It has to be vetted internally. Then it goes into the process. It goes into the queue for so the way it works is that there's services across both Vernova and aerospace and other entities. So it's just a lot more formality, and folks have to get used to that, right? You just can't go knock on the door and say, hey, Jim, you helped me do this last year. I have a problem. Can you help me with it? It kind of doesn't work that way anymore. There's a lot more formality with it. And it's a lot of building our own processes. Vernova is really a startup. It's a $33 billion business that's been around for a long time, but we're really in a startup mode, right?
Startup with very adequate funding.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. But,
okay.
But yeah, we're a startup, right? That's the way the mentality that we've taken, and so we're doing a lot of just novel things for folks that maybe old corporate used to do it for us. Maybe we had a service provider do it for us. Now we're trying to figure it out as an independent company, and it's a little different. So.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So I did the reverse of that whenever I worked for a large global gaming company, which shall not be named. We were, instead of pulling 3 apart, we put 3 together. So it was the opposite.
Mergers.
Yeah, it was the undoing of a long time of 3 separate processes, and then trying to get people to kind of merge into the one single process. Yep. And it was a lot of it's going to be okay, right? Petting people's heads and holding their hands a lot and that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun. It would be, I think, really exciting to try and do it from the other angle. So that's cool.
No, they both have challenges, right? So part of my job and my role is the world hasn't stopped, as I tell people, with mergers and acquisitions for our company. And so we've got active deals that we're managing right all of the time that need cyber due diligence, and my team is helping quite a bit on that front. So
that's very cool. That's awesome. So you got your start right through career fairs and stuff like that 20 years ago. Yeah. Do you feel like that's still the best way?
I think it's harder now for that kind of stuff. I mean, I think career fairs and events like this, BSides, right, where it's more localized, it's important to get out there and talk to people. Right. Even, there's a lot of online. Right. It's easy to click the easy button. Let me go to LinkedIn, see what jobs there are. I'll go to Indeed. Let me see what jobs there are, and all of these different websites. But I think, it still comes down to, what's going to make the hiring manager and recruiter remember, Mike from Joe, right? And it's the relationships, right? And if you go to these events, you start meeting people, you just don't know who you're going to run into. So, like just today, I ran into a former colleague, and we started talking about work and, opportunities and things like that, right? So you just don't know who you're going to run into. So the face-to-face, I think, is still important. So I would say for folks just coming into it, you got to balance the easy button. Let me go online and figure out what's there. Take some time, come to a BSides. There's a ton of local events at areas. You don't have to go to RSA, right? RSA is coming up next week. You don't have to go to an RSA to get into cybersecurity or to meet people in cyber, right?
You really don't. Yeah. Have you heard about the PR segment that goes on in Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
That's Mark Liggett. He's actually going to be our guest next Friday at our regular scheduled time. So I'm really excited to talk about that, but he does a very localized event as well. Awesome. that apparently you know about. So that's good.
So Mike, with your background, right? You talked about coming up through networking. Yay, plumbers unite. But a large part of that came up with getting hands-on, getting in the midst of things, and that development that so much of us, especially that came up through that time because there weren't classes, there weren't stuff that really fit that. It sounds like a majority of that being in the sphere, doing that hands-on, and the networking of being there and meeting people of similar amounts is really kind of what propelled you, correct? And do you think that still is a strong atmosphere today?
Yeah, I think so, right? Just that, face to face, you can't discount it enough, right? Meeting people and having that interaction. I think kind of during COVID, as an example, we were forced to really be totally virtual, and it's gotten folks into remote work and in places that it was really not seen before. And I think it's a double-edged sword, right? It's good to have that as a capability, but if you're not meeting face-to-face with people, I'll give you just a quick example. We had a trip to Budapest a few weeks ago to do some business meetings, and I'm meeting with some folks I'd never met in person, and we're talking about problems and challenges. And I think we fixed probably 3 or 4 tactical things just within the first day because we happen to be talking to each other, right? And you have folks that have different sort of demeanors, different personalities. Some folks like to reach out. Some people like to be very formal with a very long email. Some people will just send you a quick ping, and the face-to-face kind of takes all of that out the equation, right? You can have a conversation and get stuff done, I think, expeditiously. But again, balance it with, a lot of the work can be done, anywhere in the world from an IT or cyber perspective. So
yeah, I also think that the hybrid environments are good too. I like the whole go work from home and then once a quarter we'll meet up and have a snack or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a path for a lot of organizations, to be honest. I mean, if you're in IT, if you're a cyber vendor, if you're a provider, let's say, I mean, that might work. Maybe a little bit more often. Maybe you've got pockets of people in certain areas. I think the harder thing is building a team camaraderie for folks just coming into the industry.
That's so hard.
It's really hard when you only have that as an option, right? When you don't have someone working at a hub or a place where they can have lunch, happy hour, conversations with folks. So I think that's honestly a challenge in the industry that we're going to have to deal with, right?
Right.
Where we're going to have to look at what are the strategies to get people together, and the remote happy hours and all that kind of stuff is helpful. I don't find it to be as impactful.
It's not, because then you can't have the main core of a conversation and then those little side shoot. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to be appropriate with each other and just not run one another over.
Yeah.
Right? Because video chat is very much so a one at a time speaker kind of thing.
Yeah, we're just joking about that earlier. You think, but yeah, it's more of a synac, right? Like
it's definitely that, which isn't what happens in natural conversations with people. You can see the body language, the change, the shift, and know that, that person wants to say something. Let me, quiet time for a second. Kind of stuff.
And using video though helps, because I got to tell you, I have a wide variety of folks on the team, new to the industry, 30 years in the industry, 40 years in the industry, different personalities. Some people really like the camera and have different backgrounds all the time, and folks make comments about it. Others just refuse to use it; they won't use it. And I do a lot of coaching to try to encourage folks to use the camera. It's easy, it's better, especially when you're talking, so that we can understand and see your expressions, see your reactions to comments and what have you. So,
as a neurospicy professional, ADHD and a little what else I got, is Will already laughing at me? Yes.
I like neurospicy. That's great.
Something that I used to do whenever I would gather teams together to discuss anything we might be working on is I would let them know, hey, can you at least put your camera on for the first few minutes just so we can see your smiling, happy face? Or hey, if you're in a really bad mood, it just gives me a real quick read on it. After that, if you want to turn it off, it's fine, because it can be distracting for some people, or they tend to not focus on the problem that we're discussing because they're so worried about how they're holding their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I said. It is a bit of a double-edged sword. For sure,
it is, But I can also see why it is so important to be able to see each other, to relate to one another as humans, not just some disembodied voice that's shouting out through the digital sphere,
I can attest, right? Because from a college perspective, when you're trying to teach a class and all you see are a whole bunch of icons, you can't see the faces, kind of going, what? And so coming from a college sphere, how about this for a challenge? If you were to completely level the whole process of bringing on new folks and re-engineer it, what kind of things would you like to see to be able to see coming out of higher ed that would bring people that you need and that can hit the ground running?
So what type of, can I rephrase that a little bit, Will? And you tell me if I'm wrong. What kind of skills would you like for people to have straight out the gate from a higher ed education?
So this is a good question.
Expect?
Okay, so I'll give you a little example. So I have a nephew who is going to be a senior next year. He's already doing classes with Lean Six Sigma. So he's already got the first belt. I think it's a green belt.
Nice.
He's got Python skills.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh, did you hear about
yeah,
Google? I'm just saying.
yeah,
There's a bunch of layoffs.
So, but it's more of understanding deep technical details from the start to where it's like you show up for a job, no one's going to teach you how to type or use a computer.
No, they expect you to have those things already. Yeah.
As much of the technical skills that you can bake in from the front, it's going to make your path a lot easier than others, right? And that includes, like I said, lean skills, right? You don't need to be a very technically proficient, let's say, at a particular application or technology to learn that stuff, right? I mean, it's basic. It's basic continuous improvement type skill sets, right? But if I had to do it well, I would say, how much can we bake in of what we're seeing today into the curriculum, into hands-on training? Like, great. Like the academic piece is like this big. The academic piece is reading the books and understanding the basics, but I want people that come in that said, yeah, I took this and there was some application to it, right? So applied work in a given area is super keen for me. And then also, honestly, the work ethic skills, the leadership skills, like more of that at an earlier age. I love when like the people that come in and excel, especially entry level, are the ones that can articulate problems, are curious. I tell people all the time, be curious, ask questions, be sociable. The curiosity piece cannot be understated for me, right? Because it's going to trigger, you don't know how many spin-off, spider web of conversations that could happen. So curiosity is big. So teaching that at a school level, academic level, and higher education, I think it's got to be baked in.
Yeah, it really does. And that's something that Will and the folks over at Pima Community College have done. They've created a cyber, in partnership with the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range. They have an actual lab type environment, but it's the students. Will, can you help me out?
Oh yeah. It's not a lab type environment. What we've done is we've separated out the Center of Excellence from the rest of the college to where they have a student-run data center. They handle all the laptops, all the desktops, the entire environment. And then we also have a separate cyber warfare range. So it's business best practices and then how to break it, right?
Nice.
And it's all separated. So there's no PII in the environment at all. So the students handle everything from the Palo Alto firewalls to the Juniper top of rack switches to the VM environments, all the way through. And so when we hand out projects, it's like, hey, we need a Red Hat satellite server. We've never done a Red Hat satellite server. Great, go for it, right? Because from our point of view, real IT is learning how to figure it out, how to pull together, and how to put that together. So I just love it when you said that with the hands-on environment and that curiosity skill, how important that is. So how can we better communicate that to industry from your point of view so that you can see people that come out of that program are, yes, we want to hire those people head on. And keep in mind, the big reason I'm asking you this is for the students in the audience so that they know that it is approachable, that it is something they can actually hit and get into and not quit before they try because they're feeling that inferiority.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. It's when you're in that environment, I love what you just said, Will. The practicality of actually putting your hands on keyboard, learning by doing, right? That's such a big thing. Even we're constantly learning is something that I kind of preach all the time whenever I'm doing mentorship with someone. It's like we learn something new every single day, or you relearn some things, or maybe you learn something, an extension to something you thought you already knew. And you only get that done by curiosity, trying new things, getting your hands dirty, if you will.
That's very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now there are a couple of little pocket programs around here. I know there's a piece of LSU that does this locally for us in the Louisiana area. Go find Jen. Go talk to him about that. That's usually my go-to over at LSU. And then yesterday we did an event with InfraGard. Ryan Cloutier, you want to come say wave just real quick? If you're in the middle of this table.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. Ryan's in town this week. He did the InfraGard event with myself yesterday and a whole slew of other folks. So who was it? Abe? Abe was so cool too, wasn't he? He was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you are in the Louisiana area and you're not a member of the Louisiana chapter of the InfraGard, go do that. That is super fun times. We were at the Louisiana Police Training Academy yesterday. You guys, I was so terrified whenever all the cadets started yelling in unison. I was like, where did we go? Where are we right here? God bless you, John Davis. Thank you. Look at that. Refills. Absolutely love it. Meg, do we have anybody, any questions or anything? Good. I'm so nervous about missing somebody's question.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Great. This is a whole new planet. I'm not even looking at Will right now.
I have a question.
Oh, my setup here, I stole it.
Like,
I did. I walked in like I owned it. No, I didn't. I asked Naja. They and CPAT said it was okay. So I got the sign off on that. So it worked out okay. Yeah. I was like, this lighting, I like it. It's good. Well, and I was supposed to be in track 1 room, but the keynote was being delivered and it was going to be rude. I didn't want to do that. So through the miracle of the conference organizers, I believe we are streaming in that room. I'm not sure. You want to go check?
Yes, it was a live one in there.
Oh, great.
We are having, we're not, like, our chat is not showing up in LinkedIn.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm on LinkedIn right now, waiting for questions. So pop your questions into the chat, and I will make sure they get answered.
Excellent. Love it. Thank you, Meg. So for anybody that didn't hear what Meg just said, she is watching the questions from the LinkedIn Live. So if you pop questions in there, she will see it and make sure that we get to them. So that's good. So what are some? That's the. Oh, Will, go.
Mike, what would you like to see possibly improve or change in the industry? I mean, we're in a unique situation now where adversaries are heating things up all over the place, and breaches are going nuts. What would you like to see?
Yeah, change to the industry. Let me think about that one. I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed is I don't want to mention that one.
That's fine. You can pick them out.
Yeah, let me know on that because I think one of the things that I often struggle with, right, is the balance of compliance with cyber, right? So I do a ton of compliance work. That's probably half my job.
Yeah.
If not more.
Right.
And that is growing. And unfortunately, with additional regulations on reporting requirements with the SEC as an example, it's putting, I think folks may have seen this. If you haven't, do a little bit of research on it. CISOs have now been named in SEC criminal investigations and lawsuits and things like that. So what I'm seeing is a growth in the compliance piece in the regulatory space that I think needs to be use the right terminology here. It needs more discussion in terms of how it's implemented. How about that?
I like it.
So my point is that I think there's a lot of overhead now that you're in pressure that you're putting on CISOs, cyber teams. Some of these things in this one SEC investigation with SolarWinds, for example, they're talking about team chats inside the organization as evidence of not executing proper cybersecurity, right? Like banter on your Slack channel,
right?
And what is that going to do? That's going to cause teams to get the word from leadership, from their legal teams to stop doing that, right? And so what happens when people stop talking?
They stop trusting each other.
They stop trusting. That means bad things are going to happen. People get more siloed off.
Right. It breaks down.
That's what I'm saying. It needs more thought in terms of how it's implemented, because it's going to cause less conversations.
Right.
Within teams.
Right.
Which will cause, unfortunately, in my opinion, it will cause more compliance issues, more security issues down the road, because teams are not gonna have those water cooler conversations,
right?
And it's gonna cause a lack of trust in some cases, because hey, I want to be able to go to my boss if we're having a one-on-one and kind of vent about something, right?
Right.
And so keeping those things more, I think the mitigation to it is having more of those conversations in person, like we were talking about earlier, versus typing chats.
Right.
Now that's flipping scary when you think about it, because how often in cyber are we talking about how much of a problem it is that we're not sharing, right? The adversaries are sharing like crazy. And if you start to put in something that dampens that whole free flow of thought in those ideas, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I want to be as transparent as possible with my team. And I think this will limit some of that, unfortunately, right? The environment, the regulatory space will limit some of that.
We do have a question that popped up.
I just got a 5-minute countdown, so we got some questions.
We got a question.
Okay.
It's from Quinn.
Hey, Quinn. Wake up, Quinn.
Would you rather someone with lesser technical knowledge but good at interpersonal relations and communication, or vice versa in terms of coworkers or employees?
Yeah, this is always the dichotomy, right? You have a technical person who's really, really good, and they can't talk their way out of a paper bag, right? A wet paper bag. Or do you have someone who has gravitas, can articulate problems? And I think it really is going to depend on what you're hiring for, what you're looking for, right? If entry level, I think both can work. You can coach people that are more interpersonal to be more technical, and the same with technical people to coach them to be more interpersonal. It's just going to depend on what the role spec is, right? If you've got someone who's going to be your cyber evangelist, then obviously, someone whose head's down, doesn't like to talk to people, that's going to be a harder proposition for that person, right? But if you're talking about, a developer, let's say, on the back end, who doesn't really do UX or front end development, or you're talking about an entry-level incident responder who's going to take in a lot of events and do a lot of triage, you probably want a more technical person, and the interpersonal is what you're going to have to coach up, right? So I think it really depends. I think both can certainly work for a variety of roles. I think if what I'm looking to hire is more attitude and aptitude, I would call it, right? Like, do you have the right attitude? Are you intelligent enough to figure things out? Even though you might be more technical, or you might be more have a better sense of the soft skills.
Right. That's awesome. So diversity. The answer was yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of those are important, definitely.
The 5-minute thing too, so we're gonna have to start wrapping it. Oh, Will, you're talking. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, no problem. All of those are important, right? Because we have folks that can dive into problems and come up with solutions that just set everybody in awe, but they're not the happiest in front of a crew.
Right.
But so it's in any larger organization, you have the balance of the whole slew. That's fantastic. But yeah, it is definitely good to have a well-rounded skills and pick up your weaknesses wherever they are.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. And for me, I don't want to be the smartest technical person in the room. I want to hire really smart technical people. And, if they're not great at the soft skills, that's the piece I want to coach them on. And on the other side, I need some really strong people when it comes to how to articulate problems and communicate with leadership, help me with, board reporting stuff, because that's the stuff that in the end might matter the most, because we report to the board, we report to our
it's important to get their support.
SLT, and it's
buy-in.
Important to get buy-in if you want to have budget to do things, right?
Right.
So it really is something you got to think about almost on a role by role basis, and what's the makeup of your current team. What's your headcount plan for your team? What's the organization strategy? All of these things have to come into account when you're doing hiring.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, yeah. If you want to follow us for more fun events, I believe the QR code was at the beginning, and it's Mike's is up right. See, normally I'm driving. I have no idea. This is like if I just suddenly closed my eyes and said, Meg, can you grab the wheel? Thanks. A piece. So I'll tell you more about that one later. Don't worry. That's a whole inside joke. It's bad. Anyhow, so we need to wrap up because I believe there's somebody coming on right after us in track 1. If you would like to connect with Mike, please follow the QR code that's in the upper left corner. Hey, look at that. Upper left corner. That will take you directly to his LinkedIn page where you can reach out, connect, do all the fun things. Chat him up, tell him how awesome he is, tell him how great this show was, all that fun stuff. We love hearing that stuff. To follow us for next Friday's event, check out the SecureNation LinkedIn. It's all one word, SecureNation, and I believe Meg has the QR code up for that one. You're the best. If you want to follow along with what Will's awesome group in Tucson, Arizona is up to, please follow, go check out the QR code for Pima Community College, the cybersecurity program there.
Here is Pima.
And you got Pima. Oh, thank you, Meg. You're the best. I want to thank our fabulous viewers and audience, whether you're here with us today at BSides New Orleans or whether you're abroad. We love you anyway. You're what makes the Coffee Table Talks amazing and always fun. And we can't wait to see you again soon. Thank you so much.